Good morning. This is Barry Bryson. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We're in Mark's Gospel, and we're in chapter 14, and we're going to begin with verse 12 today and read through verse 16. This is Jesus' final week in Jerusalem, final week before his crucifixion, and today he's going to make preparations for the Passover, and Mark, which is the shortest gospel, has one of the longest tellings of this part of the story. Let's read verses 12 through 16. On the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when the Passover lamb was being sacrificed, his disciples said to him, "Where do you want us to go and prepare for you to eat the Passover?" And he sent two of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the city. A man will meet you carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him. And wherever he enters, say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher says, where is my guest room in which I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' And he himself will show you a large upper room, furnished and ready, and prepare for us there." And his disciples went out and came to the city and found it just as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover. Okay, in Mark's account, we find out that the disciples themselves ask, "When is this coming?" Passover, of course, is the biggest event in the calendar for a Jew. It is commemorating the rescue God provided for them from Egypt, that last miracle, the death of the firstborn, and the night they ate the unleavened bread and the bitter herbs and the Passover lamb, and they put the blood on the doorposts and the lintels of their doors, and they were spared. It was 4th of July and New Year's and Christmas and everything all rolled into one. It's almost impossible for us to imagine the meaning of the Passover for a first century Jew, especially when under Roman rule. And so they're anxious to have Passover together with Jesus in the city, especially since Jesus has made his triumphal entry and basically has ownership of the city at this point. He hasn't been betrayed yet. The crowds haven't turned against him yet. But the authorities are looking for him and looking for an opportune time, as we've already talked about, to take him quietly so that they can humiliate him before they present him again to the crowd. And so it's important to find a place to observe the Passover where they're not going to be disturbed. And so Jesus has already made arrangements. Now, whether this is these are miraculous arrangements or whether he's already spoken to someone, it's not really clear. I tend to think this is just somebody they meet on the street. I don't know how they could have just run into the right guy. Even if Jesus had made prior plans, when you have 300,000-400,000 people inside the walls of a city that's not built to accommodate 100,000, meeting the one guy carrying a pitcher of water that is the right guy would be in itself a miracle. So I know commentators will kick this soccer ball around a bit, but I don't see that it is important, because whatever happened, it is miraculous. They meet a guy carrying a pitcher of water. Observant Jews at the time, for their Passover ablutions, their cleanings, their ritual cleanings, very observant Pharisaic Jews had to use rainwater because it was pure. They had to use rainwater. And so this is probably someone who has gone to a place where rainwater has been collected for this very purpose, and he has brought home a large jar of water. Probably 5 gallons, 10 gallons. I mean, something very large and heavy water, and is bringing it home. And they find this person and they follow him. They don't say anything about what they want until they get to the door, as Jesus instructs. It says 2 disciples, but we're told in the other Gospels that these 2 disciples are Peter and John. And not surprising, they are a mission team. At the beginning of the book of Acts, and Peter, Andrew, James, and John, these 4 brothers, were partners in the fishing business and very dear friends with their lives intertwined. But anyway, he sends Peter and John. And the man has an upper room. I'm not sure what the significance of the upper room is, but it will be significant in the book of Acts. Things happen in an upper room. Jewish houses in Jerusalem did not generally have upper rooms. They did have roofs that were used as rooms, that were used for storage, or, people would even sleep up there. They would put screens up and bathe on their roofs. But a house with an upper room with a second story would have been a larger house, the house of someone of means, and there would not have been very many in the city of Jerusalem. And so the upper room, this is a house of someone with means, probably not someone who was going to be disturbed by the authorities, if they thought they might go looking for Jesus as he observes Passover. But the significance of the upper room in this story is that this is a family of means with a larger house. And of course, everything's already ready and everything works out the way Jesus wants it to. The significance of the upper room in the book of Acts is that in a city like Thessalonica or Philippi, or any place where Paul would go and put out an awning and work and preach the gospel, any place where he would work and stay for a little while, like Corinth or Ephesus. The place that he would stay, the place that he would rent, would have had two stories. And on the bottom level, you had your business, and on the upper level, you lived. And so when we read the story of Paul preaching till midnight and Eutychus falling out of the window, the second story window, you and I might imagine this large room, like maybe an upstairs ballroom, but it would have been a small room, probably maybe about the size of my office. But it would have been the upstairs of a business, and that's where they would have stayed, where the family would have lived. And that's the significance of the upper room in the book of Acts. Maybe it's just significant because it's there. I don't know. But anyway, so Jesus is about to observe the Passover, and we'll talk about this more when we get together next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.